A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to StudyIQ English, your favorite UPSC platform in India. Welcome to today's Hindu news analysis. Let's together analyze all the UPSC relevant articles from the Hindu New Delhi edition of today. That's for 2nd September 2025. So today, the newspaper is indeed full of important exam relevant articles. So I had to pick up 9 articles for you, but nothing to worry. 4 of these are quick bite articles. They don't need much time. We will just see why are these issues in the news. More from the prelims perspective. It is actually the first 5 articles which need a slightly more detailed analysis as these are UPSC mains relevant. Okay, very good morning, Bulbul. And let's quickly have a look at the first 2 articles immediately. And both these have been picked up from page number 6. That's the editorial page of today. Very good morning, Pavan. The first article is page 6, editorial. It says, the rise and risks of health insurance in India. Now, health insurance in India is not a new issue. From the perspective of GS paper 2 UPSC mains, social justice to vulnerable communities. The disparities in healthcare access. These topics we have covered in the past also. In the past also, we have spoken about Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, the PMJAY. But this article is just trying to tell us that how insurance in India has become a very controversial issue. One reason is because private sector hospitals, they do not want to take patients who have insurance policy. They want the uninsured people because the more patients spend out of pocket, the more money comes to private hospital. Second aspect is why the government hospitals only want to take up those who have taken some insurance so that they get good reimbursement from the government. These are 2 debates that we are talking about. The third important point here would be that how today we are talking about providing insurance to so many people in India. We are trying to cover more than 65% people, and yet the most important agendas in India's healthcare. One, providing equal quality healthcare access to every Indian, even if they come from poor segments. That is something we have not been able to do. Similarly, long back in 1946, there was a committee known as the Bhor Committee. The Bhor Committee had for the first time suggested that we should have primary healthcare centers for all. And even today, we see that that has not been done. This is the main theme of the article. Now, let's understand what are the issues mentioned here. A very good morning order. Okay, so let's elaborate on the article quickly. Well, the main issue is that there is something that is known as universal health coverage. When we use the word universal health coverage, we are saying that every Indian citizen, as enshrined in Article 14, has the right to equality, equality in getting at least access to primary basic healthcare services. And we are talking about those who are the poor, multidimensionally poor. As I said, it was the Bhor Committee in India. Joseph Bhor was the name of the person behind whom we kept the name Bhor Committee. Now, the Bhor Committee in India, back from 1946, had for the first time recommended that in India we should make universal health coverage accessible to each and every citizen. And we should make sure that our country invests a lot of money in public health so that the poor people in rural areas have a free access to government hospitals, at least for primary and secondary health care. Primary is just consultation and vaccination, while secondary is about consulting with a specialist. Both these should be made accessible. But today, rather than investing heavily in public health care, the problem is that India still continues to depend on government sponsored insurance schemes like the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, the PMJAY, also known as the Ayushman Bharat. Okay, that is the problem. Rather than investing in good government health care, we are only depending on free insurance care given by the government under one PMJAY, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, that began in 2018, alongside SHIPS, What are SHIPs? We also depend on state health insurance policies. So these two things are generally responsible for providing healthcare needs of the needy in India. But the problem is that in India, there are certain very huge gaps when we talk about government sponsored healthcare system. For example, let's say PMJAY Ayushman Bharat. The government said that 5 lakh annual coverage shall be given per family. That's a lot of money. 5 lakh per annum to each family, from those coming from below poverty line or transgender people or the families run by widows who have poor annual income, say under 8 lakh rupees. They shall be given 5 lakh per annum per family. Plus, apart from that, this will be applicable to both secondary healthcare if they want to consult a specialist like an ENT, a surgeon, a gynecologist, okay, an orthopedic surgeon. Similarly, this will also be applicable in the case of primary healthcare. Plus, it will also be applicable in the case of tertiary healthcare. Now, tertiary means when somebody needs an inpatient procedure, something like a surgery where you have to be hospitalized. So, PMJAY promises all three to the poor people: primary consultation and immunization, secondary specialist healthcare, and thirdly, tertiary, that's hospitalization healthcare also. The budget that the government spent on PMJAY was about 28,000 crore rupees, which is a massive amount of money. And despite that, only 50% of the hospitals participating here were government hospitals. 50% of the hospitals who were impaneled under the PMJAY continued to be private hospitals. Now, why will a private hospital want to support a patient who has government free insurance policy? They would never want that because private hospitals make money by unnecessary procedures. Look at the amount of cesarean section operations being done in India. In just from 2021 to 2025, there is a 15% increase in total C-section operations. There is another controversy which is making news and very soon it's also going to become a major issue in India. That's the issue of unwanted hysterectomy procedures among women. Majority of women from the rural backgrounds, particularly construction agriculture laborer, are getting hysterectomy done. Their uterus is being removed. A completely unwanted procedure. Many of them do not need such a surgery, but still they are undergoing this. Why? This is what happens when private sector hospitals become the caretaker of public health. They will always look for their advantage. Look at the amount of organ thefts and organ traffickings that happen in India. These are unnecessary and still they are happening. So, what are the problems with government sponsored insurance scheme? One, 50% hospitals are private, so they don't care about patient well being. They do unnecessary procedures to trap the patients. Second problem, two-thirds of entire budget of PMJAY Ayushman Bharat is also going to private hospitals only. This is promoting profit driven practices like unwanted operations, unnecessary vaccinations which are not needed by Indian public. Second problem, 80% of population is covered on paper. On the paper, the government says the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana or Ayushman Bharat is covering 80% of Indian population. But on ground, only 35% people have actually got health insurance benefit in their name. There is a massive policy implementation gap. Apart from that, let's also understand that as per the 2022 and 2023 data, it is in India where 50% of the total health expenditure done by the people is out of pocket expenditure. Out of pocket expenditure means money that people spend out of their pockets, out of their liquidity, because they do not have access to any private or government health insurance benefit. So while on paper 18% are insured, 80%, in reality only 30% or 35% people are insured. Another problem is under the Ayushman Bharat, the government always delays giving reimbursements to the impaneled hospitals. For example, if private hospital is using Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana and giving a free healthcare service to a patient, The amount of time government takes in refunding that money is lengthy. Unfortunately, just in the last few years, 600 private hospitals have withdrawn themselves from the Ayushman Bharat scheme because they are saying we are not getting reimbursement on time. So why should we participate in a scheme like that? That's the problem. The pending dues are today almost 12161 crore rupees. That's the amount of dues that are pending, which the government has to give to these hospitals, and still they haven't been received. Another issue is fraud, the issue of fraud. Recently, the National Health Authority, it identified 3002 hospitals that were running on a fake license. The doctors were unqualified, the nursing staff was unqualified, they did not have a medical license to practice, they had registered fake patients just to get insurance claim from the government. Many of them were doing unnecessary faulty procedures. Many of them did not have any hygienic or sanitized facilities for the patients. Similarly, public health expenditure in India. Unfortunately, today the whole world, especially after COVID-19 pandemic, is spending about 6.1% of gross domestic product only on healthcare. But sadly, it is India that continues to spend only 1.3% of GDP on healthcare. While on the defense, we have already pushed it beyond 4. But in healthcare, we are only spending 1.31%. So you see, this is the gap that we are talking about. And this is what the article complains. That is a major gap in India's healthcare domain. So I hope you understood the article. What were the key points we covered? One, it is very important for GS paper 2 health coverage to the vulnerable people. It is also important for GS paper 3 because we are talking about science and technology. Healthcare segment. The article said the Bohr Committee, Joseph Bohr Committee in 1946 had said India should have a universal health coverage to every citizen, including the poor people. Today in 2025, still it has not been done. Why was it not done? It wasn't done because one thing, as I told you, India depends blindly on free insurance given by government under PMJAY Ayushman Bharat and state sponsored or state health insurance policy ships. Nothing much is being done to promote the quality of healthcare being provided in public sector and private sector. Private sector has quality healthcare, but that's unaffordable for more than 60% population. Government hospitals do not provide sufficient primary health and very poor quality tertiary health. Please understand the three concepts. Healthcare is two kinds. One is preventive healthcare, where Ayush ministry comes in the picture. Prevent a disease before it happens. Second is curative healthcare. Now that disease has happened, how can we cure it? Under here, we talk about three domains: primary health, secondary health, tertiary health. Primary is about vaccination, reproductive healthcare services, child and women care that are provided through government primary health centers. That's quite poor in India in terms of quality, accessibility. Second comes secondary healthcare, where we talk about consulting a specialist. A specialist doctor, such as a gynecologist or a surgeon or a neurologist, for example, a psychiatrist. Tertiary healthcare is about when somebody needs to be hospitalized, a surgical procedure, inpatient procedure. Ayushman Bharat covers all these three for poor people in India. But unfortunately, while on paper 80% people are getting the benefit of Ayushman Bharat, on reality, on ground, only 35% people are getting. Majority of hospitals who are in the panel of PMJAY are private hospitals who are money-making units. They conduct unnecessary cesarean section operations, unwanted hysterectomies, organ trafficking, and expensive treatments are common here. Plus, those hospitals who are a part of PMJAY completely complain that government is not giving them their reimbursement on time. Today, 600 hospitals have withdrawn already from PMJAY, saying that we did not get any reimbursement from the government. The pending dues under Ayushman Bharat are already 12,161 crores. Third problem is that in India, although Government is saying that 80% population gets insurance, but 50% expenditure in health is still out of pocket expenditure. While the global community, the world is spending 6.1% of GDP to healthcare, India spends only 1.3%. Therefore, a committee called Joseph Bohr in 1946 had recommended universal health coverage, and today, after so many decades, we are still waiting. Nothing much has been done to improve our healthcare. Very good question order. Good morning, Monica. Good morning, Naz. Good morning, Nagula. Very good morning, Anjan. What is the solution? What's the way forward? One way forward is that we have to push our GDP spending on healthcare at least to 2.5% of GDP as we had promised under the National Health Policy 2017. Now, for all my dear aspirants, Bacha, please study properly the National Health Policy 2017 because many questions come based on that. This is India's latest health policy. It is quite revolutionary in many ways. For example, for the first time under the National Health Policy 2017, Section 309 of IPC was decriminalized. Attempt to suicide was decriminalized. Many such unique interventions happened under National Health Policy 2017. Do be prepared for it because in GS paper 2 mains many questions come on that. Okay. So this also recommended 2.5% GDP on healthcare. We are still doing 1.3%. That's important. Second thing is please strengthen primary healthcare. Secondary and tertiary healthcare can be avoided if there is a proper primary healthcare. If children and women and other people are getting vaccination on time, if they are getting checkups done on time, then maybe many of us will not need secondary or tertiary healthcare at all. We will already start promoting preventive healthcare. Then, preventive healthcare can also mean why can't we promote more Ayush ministry, alternate medicine, Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy. These can do wonders to prevent lifestyle disorders and other NCDs. So we have to expand, very good question order, we have to expand the expenditure on infrastructure primarily, mainly on infrastructure. Create more government run primary healthcare centers which are equipped with latest technology, equipped with sanitized facilities so that people can reach out to these. Then comes the government welfare schemes part. So priority will be to infrastructure. Secondly, we can then think of promoting more health insurance or health based government welfare schemes. Another important thing is please tighten regulations on private healthcare. If private hospitals are conducting hysterectomies, leading to the death and disease of so many young women who are undergoing uterus removal procedures without the need for that. There is a very ugly side of the story. If you want to know more of this story, you can let me know in the comment box. I'll make a video on that. That why are hysterectomies in India on rise? There is a very ugly truth behind it, you know. It's much more than healthcare. We can talk about it separately. But all these are compromising medical ethics. Also a part of GS paper 4, medical ethics, the code of conduct for doctors. Private hospitals are doing organ trafficking, expensive medications, and unnecessary procedures. We need better protocols to control them. Second, we have to improve through mass campaigning, through radio, television, social media awareness campaigns, accessibility to right medical health care, preventive health care, and vaccine and hygiene. Then we have to talk about timely reimbursements. The government has to reimburse all the hospitals that are under the panel of PMJAY. Otherwise, tomorrow no private hospital will accept government insurance policy if they do not get a money on time, if they do not get their funds on time. The last solution could be to build stronger public health centers. These could be done through Gram Sabha and self-help group participation also. Just like we have the Anganwadi workers who are going door to door to provide rural women with vaccines, birth control, and basic supplements. We can have Gram Sabha, Panchayati Raj institutions, municipal corporations at the smaller town levels, self-help groups and cooperatives who can conduct medical camps for checkup, preventive checkup of people like insulin measurements, blood pressure measurements, basic ECG testing, basic CT scanning, all these things, if they are done in a community participation mode, that can definitely do wonders. Like yesterday, the first NGO from India received the Raymond Magsaysay Award. So it proves that sometimes civil society groups like NGOs and self-help groups can also contribute in a major way in promoting public health. This is the way forward as per the article. Okay, now let's proceed with the important question for prelims. Consider the following statements with regards to universal health coverage in India. 1. The Bohr Committee of 1946, Joseph Bohr Committee, was the first to recommend universal health coverage in India. 2. Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana or the PM Ayushman Bharat provides coverage to both outpatient care. Outpatient care means OPD care, where you do not need any hospitalization, just a day care procedure. And hospitalization, this is the inpatient care. It provides a coverage of 5 lakh per family for both. Third, as of 2022, India's public health expenditure is around 1.3% of GDP, which is significantly lower than the global average. It's a very easy question if you understood the article. Which of the following statements is or are correct? You can try this for your practice. Let us know the answer. And you can also participate more by, every day. If there is an opinion that you have any given article, then you can definitely let me know and we can have a discussion on that also. All the answers I have placed on the last slide. Okay, very good morning there. And very good morning, Nayonika. Yes, of course, sir. If you want a video on unnecessary hysterectomies, yes, I will get it for you. And absolutely correct answer order. That's a correct answer that you've given. Well done. Correct, Shaggy. That's a valid answer. Megha, that's correct. It was an easy question and it also means you have understood the article. I'm very happy to see the answer. Great job. Okay, so next article again is the editorial page article. This is a new perspective on the problem of pollution in India. Mostly all of us talk about air quality index in Delhi NCR. Air quality in India is declining. Indian cities are among the most polluted cities in the world. We talk about water pollution, we talk about marine pollution, but not many of us usually talk about noise pollution and light pollution. Now, today, when we talk about protecting environment, saving our ecology, combating global warming, light and noise pollution also play a very crucial part. If I was to ask my aspirants a question, that do you know which is the first such protected reserve in India that has been created only to prevent light pollution in that region? It is known as the first dark reserve in India, exclusively created to prevent light pollution, because it is believed that too much light, artificial light, blue light, white light, any other wavelength light, it causes a disturbance to plant and animals. It changes their eating and reproduction behavior. It can create a loss to biodiversity. So that's about light pollution. And this article today on the editorial page is referring to noise pollution. Now, there is a certain limit of noise measured in terms of decibels that human ear can comfortably adjust to. But unfortunately, today urban India has become such a place where there is too much noise and sound. It becomes more than what a normal human ear can tolerate in terms of decibel measurement. This is creating acute problems in people. It can lead to chronic deafness in people. It can lead to speech problems, insomnia among people, anxiety, depression. It can lead to restlessness. Also, it is associated with hypertension, contributing later to cardiovascular disease. It looks like this is quite a neglected aspect of our healthcare. So this is exactly what the article is saying, that on the one hand, noise pollution is increasing in India's urban cities, particularly metro cities. On the other hand, there is hardly any policy in India that can stop or monitor this problem from further propagating. So let's quickly cover the key agenda of the article. No, there is no valid research yet on how light pollution could impact the reproductive patterns among humans. But we do have enough evidence that it does alter the mutation feeding behavior in plants and certain kind of animals. Okay, all right. Okay. That's interesting observation. All right. So now to this article here, noise pollution. Yes, we are talking about GS paper 3 because GS paper 3 relates with science, technology plus climate environment. We are talking about climate mitigation here. Mitigating the problem of noise pollution is a key agenda under controlling noise pollution. So, what does the article say really? The article says that noise pollution today is one of the most neglected urban problems that is causing issues in India's healthcare domain. Despite the noise pollution regulation and control rules 2000, so we have a set of protocols called noise pollution control, rather noise pollution regulation and control rules. These are the existing protocols right now. 2000. Yes, we have these, but they are not updated. They are quite outdated because we are talking about so many years. We are talking about 2025 today, and the rules are from 2000. So they are totally outdated. They do not cover the recent changes in noise pollution levels in India. Apart from that, we also have another interesting policy. We have a monitoring control system called National Ambient Noise Monitoring Network. Okay, so this is National Ambient Noise Monitoring Network, NANMN. This was created back in 2011. The problem is, despite both these protocols, today the control and regulation of noise pollution is very weak in India. But according to this article, this problem of noise pollution is not just an environmental problem, it is also a violation of fundamental rights of Indian citizens under Article 21 of the Constitution, the right to life, the right to dignity, the right to safety and liberty. Plus, it is also a violation of Directive Principle of State Policy, Article 48A, which says it is the duty of Indians to protect their environment. We are breaking both these constitutional provisions by not stopping the noise pollution at its current level. So, what are the major challenges? Major challenges is that if we talk about the NANM, NANMN, as I said, the National Ambient Noise Monitoring Network. This was created back in 2011. It was supposed to provide real time monitoring of what is the daily average noise level in Indian cities at various places. But unfortunately, a precise data does not exist because we do not have sensors that are equipped and installed at every regular interval in the city. Most of the sensors are incorrectly placed. For example, under this protocol, sensors were supposed to be available at every second stop in the city, every few kilometers away, and then whatever data the sensors would collect should have been deposited with the Central Pollution Control Board so that they could take an action on that. But unfortunately, either we do not have sensors in Indian cities, most of them are broken already, and those which are existing are located and installed at a height of 25 to 30 feet above the ground. At this level, they are unable to capture most of the ground level noise. When they have no data, what will they submit to the Central Pollution Control Board? And then how can the board take an action against those who are violating the rules? Similarly, 20 to 35 feet high installation of noise sensors breaks the Central Pollution Control Board's own clause that was created in 2015. Now, talking about the noise pollution regulation and control rules 2000, as I said, these are outdated now. While the World Health Organization says that the safe limit for individuals in terms of tolerating noise pollution is about 50 decibels during daytime and it falls to 40 decibels during night time. But in Indian cities, during the daytime and during the night time, Both of the times we are already exceeding this limit. It goes as high as 70 decibels and even more sometimes, which is absolutely an abuse of human nervous system toleration. It completely crosses the limit of eardrums toleration limit. No wonder the problems regarding your hearing capacity and sensory issues are on the rise also in India. With that, we also understand that today Indian cities are routinely breaking this World Health Organization upper limit protocol. So, therefore, talking about Article 21, yes, absolutely, we have violated the right to life and dignity and liberty for Indian people. It is causing mental trauma to people. It is causing psychological, neurological disturbances among people. Similarly, Article 48A, Directive Principle on State Policy, that mandates the government to take any step it needs to protect India's environment. But that's not happening under this noise pollution mess. Second thing is, long back in 2005, the Supreme Court, in one of its orders called the Noise Pollution Verdict, had said that unchecked urban noise is violating the fundamental rights of Indian citizens, particularly the homeless, vulnerable people on the road. And still, nothing much has been done. Okay. Now, what is the health impact of this extensive noise pollution? One clear impact, as I told you, is it impairs the cognitive development among young children. Exposure to too much noise can disturb the motor skills and cognition capacity of children under 5 years of age. We all know that ages from 1 to 5 is when 80% of brain development happens, but too much exposure to unnecessary noise. It could be from your smartphone also. It could be from regular exposure to high decibel level of music and vehicle pollution also. That also disturbs cognition. Second thing is it leads to a disruption of your psychological rhythms of the body. Your circadian rhythms completely get destroyed. So there is anxiety, there is hypertension. As per a 2025 Auckland study, noise not only disrupts sleep but also talking about birds. In India, there is a very common species of bird called mynas. Now, mating and communication behavior of mynas also get distorted. Again, a loss to biodiversity. Now, annually, in countries like Europe, there is a monitoring that's done in the European Union countries by the European uh, Economic Association, the EEA, and there is a punishment of about 100 billion euros that are spent every year in upgrading the noise pollution protocols, in putting the right measurement in place. And any company, any enterprise, any vehicle that breaks the norm is given a strict fine and sometimes even imprisonment. But in India, we have fragmented policies. So, do we have a solution? Yes, we can celebrate the no honking day. Just like we celebrate the wear your helmet, put your seatbelt initiatives, we have to propagate through community action and media campaigns zero honking day. We have to control some imposition on construction noise. We have to provide municipal corporations and updated real time data collected through the NANMN protocols by putting noise sensors at every regular interval, that too at a nominal height, not so high, where they can measure the ground level noise pollution. Just like air quality index, we also need a noise decibel index today. Ultimately, the article claims that we should create in our public something that's called as sonic empathy. Sonic is about sound. Please create sonic empathy where people really understand that be sensitive to each other because this noise pollution is going to harm everyone, each one of us. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Whether it's a religious custom or a festival, noise pollution is actually everywhere in India. So these policies, Megha, very good morning, Megha. These policies are there, my dear, on paper. But talking about the implementation of these policies, as I said, it's still very weak. Because if protocols like NAMAN, the National Ambient Noise Monitoring Network, which is supposed to capture the data on noise level, on the decibel level pollution, if that fails to collect the valid data, how will agencies like the National uh, Pollution Control Board or the Central Pollution Control Board, how will they take any action? If municipal corporations have no such data through NANMN, updated data, how will they take an action to stop it? So, yet we can say implementation is very improper. Absolutely, especially when it comes to elderly people above 60, it could be very dangerous for them. That's a valid point you have made. So the article is trying to request for sonic empathy. Have some sonic empathy for each other. The question with reference to urban noise pollution in India, consider these statements. 1. The National Ambient Noise Monitoring Network, NANMN, was launched by Central Pollution Control Board in 2011 to collect real-time data. What is real-time data? What's real-time data? Most updated data, quick data, fast data on noise pollution. 2. The permitted noise limit in silence zone under WHO guidelines are 50 decibels in the afternoon and 40 decibels in the night. 3. The noise pollution regulation and control rules 2000 are enforced under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So which of these do you think is or are valid? Try the question. I have pasted the answer already. So next article is page number 7. And the article again relates to GS paper 2, international relations between India and US. Nothing new again, but a new perspective once more. So in the last 15 days, we have spoken about India US every day. We all know why. The 50% tariff that US has imposed on us has today impacted India's 48 to 55 billion dollar trade. Our exports priced at $50 billion have been impacted by 50% US tariff punishment. The sectors I have told you again and again, let me repeat, the sectors that are most at risk are the labor intensive manufacturing sectors across textile, electronics, gems and jewelry, agriculture, leather and footwear. Each of these from $10 billion to $6 and $3 billion have suffered an impact. Exporters in India today are risking the loss of revenue, loss of jobs, a complete closure of their companies. In this light, is there any sector that is safe? Yes, I have told you the government of the United States of America under Trump, despite putting a 50% tariff on us, has allowed exemptions to some few sectors, selected sectors, including pharmaceutical, because India is a global leader in pharmaceutical supply chain. And US depends on raw materials or generic medications that come from India. So therefore, pharma worth 3.7 billion export value is exempted because India supplies 40% of US generic drug demand. What is generic drug? The basic material on which medicines are made, the raw material. India is a leader, so US had to exempt us there. Then IT services, which are 33 billion export value to US in the financial year 24-25. Last is energy, aviation, defense and space. All these sectors have experienced some exemption, but the manufacturing, labor intensive sectors have suffered badly, which also means that our informal sector workers will soon become unemployed. But this article says today, as the Indian Prime Minister is in China attending the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, talking to Russian leader Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping about possible trade diversification of Indian products. When US markets close, there are other markets that India is now eagerly exploring. But at the same time, India has played diplomatically quite smart. India is not saying I am going to break a relationship with US or tariff and trade problems do not mean that India US are friends no more. Because India says even today we have a people to people connection that's quite historical, quite long. For example, 4.8 million Indians are comprising the diaspora in the US, which means expats 4.8 million from India are living in America. More than 2 lakh Indian students are enrolled right now in American universities. 150 plus Indian origin businessmen, CEOs lead global firms. Culture and political. For example, in US they celebrate Deepavali in the White House. Similarly, there are so many Indian origin lawmakers, doctors, architects who are working from the US, contributing to their GDP, sending remittances back to India. So there is a deep relationship between the countries even apart from trade and tariff. Not only there, even in the defense sector. Let's remember India and US are key participants in the Quad, the Quadrilateral Dialogue, that initially was aimed at targeting China's monopoly and supremacy. US is an ally when it comes to like-minded countries who strongly condemn China's domination and expansion. Second, in the aviation also, India and US are together doing so many deals with regards to airport modernization, the Boeing aircraft. Then comes green hydrogen, creating renewable sources of energy. Then we have the healthcare segment, space, NASA ISRO partnership. So the article says that a breakdown in trade, tariff, and exports does not mean that India US are friends no more. And there is no other relationship between the two. In fact, India does not want to do any enmity with the US right now. That's the reason India is not slapping US back with an equally high reciprocal tariff. Because India knows that even within US there is a fracture existing. While the Donald Trump led regime is creating this difficult tariff system for India, it is the opposition party in the US which is quite supportive of India. They are criticizing this economic illogical step taken by Trump. So, therefore, India knows that maybe this is just a small episode. This is just a small tension in passing. But why should we allow this temporary problem to define the relationship between India and US for future to come? That wouldn't serve India any good, given that so many Indians are working from the US. So therefore, today we are saying that apart from trade and apart from tariff, there is another aspect of India-US relation. And Indian foreign policy right now is at the peak of its multilateral diplomacy. Neither are we trying to be friends with China once again. Quite well aligned with Russia once again. But absolutely we are in line with our friendship with US too. Okay, so that's the article. Let's see the question quickly. With reference to recent developments in India-US trade relations, look at the following statements. One, in 2024, US was India's single largest trade partner, which amounted for goods export worth more than $85 billion. Two, India currently supplies around 40% of United States of America's demand of generic medicines, a sector that will not be affected by tariffs. Third, gems and jewelry, textile, agriculture, footwear were among major Indian exports that were directly impacted by US tariffs. Very easy question. You could choose the valid answer from the options given below. Very good morning, Pavan Kumar. Very good morning, Nagulan, once again. Absolutely, Shaggy. That's a valid point that you've made. Now, whether it's a festival or whether it's a religious procession, what really matters is that talking about noise pollution, we need to understand that sonic sympathy towards each other, sonic empathy, is something that's beyond religion and culture because human bodies, irrespective of whatever be our religious, cultural, linguistic affiliation, is going to impact everyone equally. So, in healthcare, we should just transcend above these cultural differences and respect the right of every citizen under Article 21. Valid point there. Okay, slightly confusing. Is it B or is it B or D? Let's see. Next article is page 7. Quite an interesting article. I will summarize that to you in the form of a flow chart so that you understand better. Look at the flow chart here on your screen. The article is saying that before US slapped us with this 50% tariff, if you remember just last month, India and United Kingdom, UK, had signed an FTA, free trade agreement, so that both countries can benefit from export of goods and services into their respective economies. Second, it was a great achievement for India. Everyone was celebrating that. Why? Because US, apart from US, UK is also one of our key export destinations. And through this foreign free trade agreement, we knew that majority of Indian exports to the UK market will become very cheap, almost free of any kind of import duty in the UK, which means the demand for Indian products in UK will rise and India will get good export income. Trade benefit will happen. That was what we thought. But there is a twist here. Unfortunately, there is the anticlimax here. What happened? What has happened is that the free trade agreement is great. Yes, India and UK signed the free trade agreement. It meant that UK decided to put zero, completely nothing, no import duty on steel and aluminum that are being exported from India to UK. That was a great news. India could have earned so much from the UK market, but this comes with a pinch of salt. Today, United Kingdom is saying that as a part of Paris Agreement 2015, all the countries have to control their carbon emission and carbon footprint. We have to reduce pollution at any cost. So United Kingdom is saying that India will have to abide by our CBAM. What is CBAM? Our carbon border adjustment mechanism. Carbon border adjustment mechanism, which means although UK has agreed to put zero import duty, to completely cancel import duty on Indian steel and aluminium, which is great for Indian exporters. But UK also says that every aluminium and steel product that goes from India to the UK will have to comply with the CBAM protocol, which means if the carbon footprint of these products is found higher as compared to the local UK protocols, then Indian exporters will have to pay a fine on that. Now, this is again putting us in a bad spot because if Indian products, which will naturally be higher in carbon footprint as compared to British or UK's products, if they will have to pay extra price under the CBAM, then what will it mean? It will mean that from 2027, if we start paying for UK CBAM, we will have to pay $66 per ton of carbon dioxide of our product, which means again the price will increase. So this cancels all the benefits of the free trade agreement that we had created. How will it impact Indian exports? Majorly. There will be an increase of 20 to 40% in the cost of India's products. That is the problem. Because the protocols from one country to another are very different. You know, under the Paris Agreement of 2015, we have the nationally determined contributions, where each country will have to decide how much carbon footprint can it reduce by 2030. But the protocols are different from one country to another. UK has much more strict protocols. For example, in UK, the carbon price is very, very high. If a product or a company is secreting carbon footprint, they will have to pay huge fine to the government. In India, it is much lower than UK. For example, India's carbon price is $8 to 10. UK's carbon price per ton of carbon dioxide secreted is $66. Look at the difference. 6 times more. So will Indian products be able to compete? No. When we spoke to UK about it, UK said that we have no choice. Under Paris Agreement, we have to impose the CBAM protocol. Otherwise, it will not be fair because our local manufacturers and exporters are following these protocols. Then how can we allow your exporters to not pay this price? So therefore, we know that India is a carbon-rich country. We know that India's carbon footprint is quite high. So today we are in a very difficult situation. UK says it is in line with my environmental need. I cannot help it. And India says, but if you put this CBAM on my products, then what is the benefit of free trade agreement? Anyway, 20 to 40% cost will increase. Then what's the benefit? What's the benefit of the deal that we both signed together on aluminium and steel? Indian exporters will again have a problem. If you start charging us $66 per ton of CO2, which means per product, Indian exporters will have to pay triple the price. Then there is no point. Today we are questioning, is this a level playing field? UK says it is to create a level playing field. It is a fair game. If UK exporters, UK industries are paying, then so should Indian exporters. That is the rule of the country. That's the environmental protocol of that country. But the problem is that it is quite against WTO, World Trade Organization mechanism of fair trade between developed and developing countries. Because India's own carbon price under the new carbon credit trading system is $8 to $10 per ton. How can Indian exporters pay $66 per ton? So Indian exporters cannot afford this 20 to 40% hike suddenly. And there is no benefit we got under the FTA. And this is the controversy that has been created. Absolutely well said, order. Yes. Okay. Now let's quickly see the question also. With reference to the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM, look at these statements. 1. UK CBAM to be implemented from 2027 will apply to carbon intensive, which have a high carbon content, carbon intensive, high carbon ingredient, such as steel and aluminium, including the electricity used in their production. So not only the final product, but the amount of energy that has gone to make that product will also be taxed. In UK, up to $66 per ton of CO2 present. 2. Under CBAM, exporting countries can reduce their domestic carbon pricing mechanism such as carbon tax or emission trading schemes if recognized by the UK. 3. India's carbon credit trading scheme already sets a carbon price nearly equal to UK carbon price. Is it so? Do India and UK have same carbon price mechanism? Ensuring cost competitiveness for Indian exporters. Which of these statements is or are valid? You can try to answer the question. Yes, absolutely. We are somewhere as Indian economy having a huge struggle right now in striking a favorable deal. Very well pointed out, order. Whether it's the ASEAN, RCEP problem, or whether today it's the UK deal, whether it's the ongoing tariff war. Right now, India seems to be caught up in huge dilemmas. That's exactly what the government is trying to crease out. Okay. Okay, interesting. Yeah, B looks like the valid answer to me as well. We will verify in the last slide. So the next article is another constitutional debate. It happened last week. I have discussed this with you. This is from GS paper 2, Polity and Governance. This is about Supreme Court being very unhappy about a decision taken by the President of India to nominate, to promote two High Court judges from Patna and Gujarat to the Supreme Court panel. Now, Supreme Court is working in its full capacity of 34 judges. But some judges in the Supreme Court are not happy with the decision. They have said that this decision does not follow the collegium system protocols of the Supreme Court, under which only the highest in terms of hierarchy, the most well known and recognized, and the most meritorious judges will get the chance to come to the Supreme Court panel. Second, while putting members to the collegium, it's equally important to abide by regional balancing mechanisms. We have to have equal representation from every state. Just because Rajasthan, UP, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh are the largest states in area and population, it doesn't mean that we only take their judges in our court. Only their high courts will not be represented. Every high court should have some representation. But today, as judges such as Justice Vipul Manubhai Pancholi were promoted to the Supreme Court, there were other existing judges like the only lady justice at Supreme Court, Justice B.V. Nagaratna, were very vocal about it. They were quite against it. They said that this decision will have a very big fallout even in future. It is not a good step that President has taken, because she is saying that I am not personally against these two judges who have been promoted, but I am against the fact that Supreme Court has to work on some systems and some transparency. Why will two judges be promoted to our Supreme Court from Patna High Court and Gujarat High Court, Ahmedabad High Court, even when their meritocracy list was not that high? Their position in the All India rank of judges was not in the top. Then why were they promoted? Is this not a betrayal of the merit, integrity, and seniority criteria at the collegium? Second, why are the judges from Gujarat High Court again and again being promoted to Supreme Court? This is the third judge from Gujarat High Court who has found place in Supreme Court panel. Again, this breaks down the collegium logic of regional balance and diversity in representation. So she said that as many senior judges are still waiting to come to the Supreme Court, their candidature has been overlooked. And Justice Pancholi has been transferred out of Gujarat High Court many times earlier due to serious concerns. And Still, he was promoted to the Supreme Court. So this is the controversy that has been created today. It also says that if Justice Pancholi is elevated, then similarly he should also become the Chief Justice of India by 2031. So which means even to get promoted to the senior most judicial position in India, CJI, there is no transparency that the government is observing anymore. And the Supreme Court says this kind of executive interference in judiciary is absolutely lacking in independence and credibility that is given to judiciary in Indian democracy. So Justice Nagaratna says the bar for the basic measurement stick for Chief Justice of India candidature is very, very high. To become the Chief Justice, one has to be the most meritorious and experienced and outstanding jurist in India. And today, if we just promote on the basis of president, executive interference or favoritism, then collegium purpose is defeated. So that's the controversy that has broken out. You should know about it. Absolutely order. Regionalism in judiciary. Now we have the quick bite news events. One such is coming right from the front page article. Now, Afghanistan has been rattled by a massive earthquake. In the last few years, we are seeing from Turkey, Syria, to Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia, to Japan, and now it's Afghanistan. Extreme unpredictable tectonic shifts once again have taken their toll on the lives of over 800 people, and 2,800 have been seriously injured as earthquake of 6.0 magnitude hit at midnight Afghanistan, that's the capital, Kabul. It also impacted the neighboring countries such as Islamabad of Pakistan. The epicenter of this quake was about 27 kilometers from Jalalabad, a province in the area. And according to the US Geological Survey, it was such a strong earthquake that 800 people have already perished. Now, India is once again ready to provide with all supplies, medical care, and human resource help to Afghanistan in safety evacuation operations, in delivering medicines, in delivering first aid, and in delivering food supplies. So let's see what name will India give to this operation. In past, India has done many such operations, whether it was Ukraine, whether it was Gaza, whether it was Turkey and Syria. Let's see how India conducts this rescue operation, once again in line with India's international humanitarian commitments. Absolutely. Whenever we play with nature, it backfires. I will so agree there, Shaggy. Now, next is page number 12. Page number 12 is an Indian news coming from Northeast India. Very important for prelims. The government has announced a railway line that shall be set up in Mizoram. Okay, and Mizoram will now be connected to the national railway network. That's a great news. National railway network. As Shri Modi will inaugurate the 51.38 kilometers long Bairabi Sairang railway line. This is a broad gauge line that is constructed at an expenditure of more than 5,000 crore rupees, and this new line will be inaugurated at Sairang in the capital of Mizoram, Aizawl. Okay, now this is interesting because this will connect through the Silchar in Assam as well as Tripura and Arunachal Pradesh. So this just shows much more integration, much more transport inclusion in the segregated northeast states in India, where owing to mountainous territory and extremely heavy rainfall, it becomes difficult to have stable railway connections. But today, this new broad gauge line is coming, known as Bairabi Sairang railway line. It will connect a place called Sairang, which is situated near the capital city of Mizoram called Aizawl. Okay, so this is one of the most ambitious plans in the Northeast India so far. Sikkim, Manipur, Meghalaya, all these northeastern states will also be covered by some other narrow gauges by 2030 as per the Northeastern Frontier Railway Officer. Okay, so this is the name that you should remember. The Bairabi Sairang railway line. Now, once again, page number 1, front page article. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization is underway. The Prime Minister of India is busy creating more trade pacts, renewable energy pacts, defense ties with Russia and China. And in this light, Both Russia and China have strongly condemned the Pahalgam terror attack in Kashmir. During the summit, the 10-member Shanghai Cooperation Organization strongly rejected any claim made by the terrorists regarding their independence, regarding the Kashmir issue. They said that all these are not justified and the Pahalgam attack was absolutely inhuman. It has to be neglected immediately. It has to be condemned, criticized by the world community. It also says that all these SCO countries are today signing a new declaration called Tianjin Declaration. This is the Tianjin Declaration. Tianjin Declaration. Why? Because SCO Summit, the 10-member SCO Summit, is taking place in the province of Tianjin in China. So the new Tianjin Declaration was adopted. India is also a member. Please remember, India is also a member alongside Pakistan and Russia. All the countries together want to end cross-border movement of terror actors. And they want to declare SCO's commitment as fight against separatism, terrorism, and any act of extremism. Okay, so this is something we should remember. The member states are also saying that United Nations Charter and the principles of World Trade Organization will be strongly adhered to. This was referring to the high tariff imposed by the US. All these countries are saying, yes, the tariff is against World Trade Organization's principle of fair trade. So that's the development. I'm sure you are finding this very, very ironic. A country like Pakistan and China saying that we condemn cross-border terrorism is actually making us a little speechless. But if it helps India, then that's the best thing to happen. So this is the Tianjin Declaration. Absolutely, the RATS agreement. Very well said there. Order. Now page number 10, one of the last news for the day. A quick read. Supreme Court of India has refused to entertain a petition that is saying that the target of introducing 20% ethanol blended petrol by the next year, by the end of this year, is not good, because you cannot snatch people's fundamental right by forcing them to purchase ethanol blended petrol. And every individual in India should have the right to buy both. If they want, they should buy ethanol blended petrol, but they should also be provided with an option to buy ethanol free petrol, because this comes under the Consumer Protection Act and fundamental right of the citizen. This is the petition that has been submitted to the Supreme Court. The petition is being petitioned by Chief Justice B.R. Gawai and Justice K. Vinod Chandran. So that was the petition in front of them, but they have refused to listen to this petition. The petitioners were actually saying that the key petitioner, Akshay Malhotra, he said that Niti Aayog once had said that if 20% ethanol is blended into petrol, then the efficiency of cars and motorbikes will be reduced severely. For the cars, the efficiency will go by 7%. For motorcycles, the efficiency will fall down by 4%. This was a report by Niti Aayog once long back in 2021, the roadmap for ethanol blending in India. Under that report, Niti Aayog clearly said that if we make ethanol blended petrol compulsory, then vehicle owners and motorbike owners will experience a poor performance of their engines, of the vehicles. But the Supreme Court is saying no, we are not going to entertain this petition at all. So that is the controversy that's going on right now. While the petitioners are saying that please allow us the option of also purchasing ethanol free petrol, we are not saying that you do not introduce ethanol blended petrol, but give us a second chance. Give us one chance that if we do not buy, if we are not wanting to buy, if we feel our vehicles are getting eroded and damaged, please at least make the availability of ethanol free petrol also. But the Supreme Court is saying that recently the union government said that the ethanol blending policy is not only to promote clean energy, but also it will benefit sugarcane farmers in India. And it will help India in earning prestigious foreign exchange reserves. So therefore, the Supreme Court says there is nothing much that we can do right now. That was all for today's newspaper. I hope you enjoyed the articles. I tried to comprehensively cover all the important articles for the day. Now, there is one article that is not completely covered today. It was just in the passing. So I will take it up some other day. This was about the right to information and how does the government today want to combine various primary schools and attach them to secondary schools or to a college for better administration. We can take this up for consideration some other day. These are the answers I have posted for you. And very good morning, Rishi there. Yes, I will make a detailed video. Absolutely. If you want on Northeast, yes, I can do that for you. Okay, so now I take your leave. Thank you so much for being a part of this lovely session. If there's any suggestion, anything you want to share, please put it in the comment box. You can do that later as well. Do like, share, subscribe, study IQ English. If you enjoy these classes, I will see you tomorrow with another comprehensive coverage of the Hindu New Delhi edition. Thank you so much.